Hello, everyone, and welcome to Experts Unplugged, Leadership Speaker Spotlights from the Tri-State Camp Conference, where I, as a fellow speaker at the conference, I'm going to highlight some of our amazing speakers from the upcoming Tri-State Camp Conference, which is through the American Camp Association's New York and New Jersey chapters. It's taking place March 12th to 14th at the Atlantic City Convention Center in New Jersey. So our chat here today focuses on leadership and how our expertise impacts others to think like leaders. As many of you know, I'm Joanne Newborn. I am the CEO of Newborn Evolution, where we help smart leaders build teams that think strategically, problem solve effectively, and really take true ownership of outcomes. Today, I am very excited to be talking to David Phillips about his talk, Seasonal Staff Supervision, a Key to Retention and Greater Productivity. And let me tell you a little bit about David. He is a principal of Immersive1st, a firm specializing in fundraising, strategic planning and visioning, governance, coaching, program creation, and organizational analysis. He's a lifelong communal professional with a trademark British sense of humor. His passion is doing important things with good people that make a difference. As a presenter, he's known for engaging participants in a learning experience that provides tangible help, and it feels fun too, which is important. David holds an MSW in social work with a focus on community organizing and development from the University of Pittsburgh. He lives in Jupiter, Florida, along with Karen, and they have 2 children, plus Murray the dog. He supports Chelsea and Crystal Palace in equal measures.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much for sharing time with me today, David.
It's my pleasure, Joanne. It's great to see you.
Yeah, same here. I'm excited about your talk. I have a bunch of questions. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing around staff supervision today?
So from a 50,000 foot position, one of the challenges is the title. We give folks the title supervisor, and we assume that the title brings with it genius. And you'll be surprised to know it really just doesn't. And I think at its highest, most macro level, that's one of the real challenges, is we give people the title without saying, I wonder if they'd be a good supervisor. I wonder if we've given them the training necessary to understand the absolutely critical role that this plays in people's lives. So at its most basic level, I think one of the challenges is we have not taken seriously the title and what it brings to the playing field. And so that's one of the major challenges, I think.
Absolutely. And I see this all the time in the corporate landscape as well. People get promoted because they're good at what they do as an individual contributor, or because there's a necessity, but they're not given the tools and skill sets necessary to be successful.
Even scarier, they get it because they've been there long enough and no one knows what to do with them, and therefore, we better make them a supervisor.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, not just for them, but for organizational culture. You asked, one of the big ticket items. This really relates to culture, it relates to retention, it relates to who we want to be, especially in the nonprofit space, I think, but also in the for-profit space. There's no real difference in terms of how people are perceived and work through their supervisory protocols. So
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you too about the attrition, right? Have you seen an uptick? Has it gotten more frequent? I actually talk about it in my talk, and the numbers that I found are incredible in the corporate landscape, but in terms of the camp world, what are you seeing?
So it's a great question, because what I do is I look at and try to reflect on why people came into the industry in the first place. And for the most part, if you're in the camp world, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, you're there because you actually feel you can make a difference in the lives of others. And so what's ironic to me is that while the customer is viewed as the camper, the truth of the matter is I've long held that the customer is really twofold. It's the ones that pay to be there, that's your campers, and it's the ones who you pay to be there, which is the staff. There's nowhere else left in American society now where young adults can get a job, usually, or sometimes their first ever jobs, and actually fail. There's no room left for failure in society. Camp is one of the only places left where it's actually okay to fail. You can hopefully learn from it and move on. So what I'm seeing is the challenge is a lot of supervisors, executive level especially, don't want to invest the time or effort in these young adults from a supervisory point of view. If you've got them for 8 weeks, so even if it's a 7-week program, you're usually going to have them for an additional week for orientation. What are you doing to ensure that at the end of the summer, they come out with something tangible and meaningful that can propel them forward? To me, that's what supervision is about.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the challenges. We're definitely seeing attrition on a year-round basis. I think it's actually maybe the most threatening issue that the camping industry has to deal with, which is where are we going to find the next year-round group of talented professionals who want to take what's our lifestyle jobs? And it used to be, and I'm sure you've seen this in your research, it used to be that when we ask people what the 3 most important things in their work environment are and why they're leaving places, money was never the top one. It used to be about 3 on the scale. Money has now moved up to usually 2, but what is still consistent is how people are treated and how they're made to feel and how they grow as professionals. I don't think much has changed, and I think we're sometimes not doing it very well.
No, not at all. And in fact, I would say the misconception is that it is about money, and it's not. And just what you said, when I say to organizations, when you have a supportive manager, when you have a team that you can turn to and learn from, and I'm talking about the high performance teams, but also when you have things like, an opportunity to grow and focus on your strengths and do what you love, all of those things, now it becomes a real risk to leave someplace, even if you're making more money, that more money is not going to make up for all the other risks that you're taking. And it takes a while for people at organizations to really realize this.
Well, I joke about that because I have to, because if you don't, you cry. And I say, money isn't the most important thing, and you can't buy someone. The truth is people try. And it has to be a really huge amount of money to buy my love if I don't love you. It would need to be a lot. And I think we've also seen from a supervisory point of view, a cultural shift in how people are viewing the role. And so a lot of it, I view supervision as 2 elements. There's task-based, and then there's the educational piece. The whole point of the work we do in this space is to, again, grow good people. And that doesn't happen if you only say to them, Joanne, do this, Joanne, do that, Joanne, do this. You've got to also say, hey, Joanne, I know you did that. Let's talk about how it went. Let's examine and explore your professional development. And to an extent, we've abdicated on the educational side of supervision, and we have focused exclusively on task. And partly that's because of resource, partly it's because we haven't trained people to be good supervisors, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But that's what really worries me, is we've lost our pathway around building good citizens. And we've reverted to, did you do it, versus how did it feel? What would you do differently? And how do we develop you as a professional? And that's year-round or seasonal. It doesn't really matter. It's fair.
So actually that leads me to the next question I wanted to ask you around productivity. What does greater productivity look like today? Because you talked a lot about, tasks, but is that really being productive?
It is, if your culture is one of, we have a job, let's do the job, the task, etc. If we recalibrate that cultural prism and say it's equally as important for the staff to learn skills and learn about themselves as it is to move those benches from that side of the theater to this side. Okay, there are tasks, it's camp, we get it. But it can't be in isolation. And I think that every time we do that, we sort of pushed down our role. And our role really is about young adult education, supervision, and progress. I want people, not everyone is going to work at camp and want to work in the camp industry. Yeah. They're going to go off and work in consulting and doctors and lawyers and all those wonderful things. Let's teach them about who they are and the fact that they are responsible for their own growth and that of others. And I think we'd be a better place if we did that. I hope.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. I've been saying on a lot of my interviews that I feel like everyone should go to camp before they enter the corporate world, because it's such a good space to learn these like key behaviors and skills and tools, because so much of it is parallel. It's amazing.
It really is. And, you know, if someone can survive a summer, and I say survive very carefully, I use the word, because for some people, it is surviving a summer. They may not be the best counselor. They may not be the best soccer specialist or whatever it is. But they have demonstrated their ability to put themselves in a foreign environment, work very long hours, and maintain some degree of focus. And that's the reason why when I interview people for other jobs outside of the camping industry, I look for people who've done this. Because I know it says something about them. Hopefully good.
Well, that is a great place for us to wrap, although I could talk to you all day about this. Thank you so much. David will be speaking on Tuesday, March 12th at 3:15 p.m. So make sure you catch him. And I'm going to be speaking on Wednesday, March 13th at 8:30 in the morning. So bring your coffee.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to be talking about creating rock stars, designing collaborative high performance teams. So please join me, because leading a high performance team that you can really consistently rely upon in a world where you're serving others is an absolute must have in order to thrive in today's changing landscape. So thank you so much, David. And I look forward
Joanne.
to seeing you very soon.
It's my pleasure. Am I allowed to say that I'm doing 2 other sessions as well?
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah. Room 302, helicopter to lawnmower, working with the next generation of parents is a principal one. I'm doing that on Tuesday, the 12th at 2 p.m. And then immediately after at 3:15, I'm doing the seasonal staff one you mentioned. And then the next day, I'm doing one on working in and around capital projects and fundraising and all the stuff you need to learn about fundraising, which is essential for the world we live in. That's 8:30 on Wednesday morning. We'll both have to have people with coffee.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for letting me come and play. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.